Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at MSI's Clutch GM41 Wireless Optical Gaming Mouse. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so in today's video we're taking a look at the MSI Clutch GM41 Lightweight Gaming Mouse. Now first of all, why did they have to put clutch in the title? This makes no sense. Being someone who's worked in the automotive trade, a clutch is something which disengages and engages a gearbox or an engine flywheel. It has nothing to do with gaming. Anyway, I digress. Most of you out there probably know already that I am somewhat of a MSI fanboy, and I am, guilty as charged. I do like MSI stuff, so obviously do take that with a slight grain of salt when I go through this. I actually really like this mouse. I'll get that out straight away. I like MSI, I like this mouse, so it is going to be an overwhelmingly positive review. So if you're just kind of new and you're wondering, should I buy the GM41? I'm looking for a wireless mouse. Is it worth buying? Yes, go and buy one. If you want to know more, then you're going to have to keep on watching. I'm going to go through today, do an unboxing, go through some of the specs. I've actually made some notes as well, because I'm sure there's going to be something I'm going to miss. There's so many features built into this gaming mouse. Yeah, I'm bound to lose track of what I'm doing. Anyway, let's get on with it. Let's start off first of all with the unboxing. So first of all, packaging wise, usual MSI stuff. Serves a purpose, does what it needs to do. Tells you basically everything you need to know on the front of the box. So Clutch GM1 Lightweight is a wireless mouse, and it also can be used as a wired mouse should you wish to. It comes with a charging dock, which is absolutely awesome, and that can also house the dongle for the remote as well. So you're going to get your remote slightly nearer to your mouse, so less latency and all that kind of good stuff. On the terms of latency, this is using MSI's own 2.4 GHz technology, so direct sync and all that kind of stuff. If you lose the dongle, you're basically screwed. You won't be able to use wireless anymore, but don't worry, you still plug it in from wired, so that's absolutely fine. RGB supported, so this is supported with the MSI Center. So when you actually plug this in for the very first time, it will say, do you want to install MSI Center? And if you do, you can do all the cool things, go through, change the settings for the different DPI levels, your RGB settings, your lift-off distance, all that kind of good stuff. We'll take a look at that a little bit later in the video so you can see exactly what happens in MSI Center. But yeah, that is a very nice option. If you don't want to, don't have to at all, you can just basically ignore the software altogether and just use it as a mouse, and you can control most of the features on the mouse itself. So it isn't a big deal, but certainly does add an extra layer of flexibility. On the back it goes through some of the details. Now one of them is there's a feather. It's a little bit heavier than a feather, but not a great deal to be fair. This is only 74 grams without the cable. And actually when you lift it up and feel it, it just feels very, very light. And you think, how did they actually manage to get a battery in there? All the gadgets and gizmos, all the switches, sensors and all that kind of stuff, but still make it so light. It is incredibly light. So if you do like your lighter weight mouse, around about the 74 gram mark, then you're going to love this one. Personally for me, going from the GM30, which is the previous one I'd used on a relatively regular basis, which actually is flashing away behind me, that one's somewhere in the region of about 100, 110 I think, so it does feel considerably lighter, but has a very similar feel to it. You've got the Pixart PAW3370 optical sensor in there, so yeah, decent gaming grade sensor in there. And you've got DPI switches from, I think it's down as low as 100 DPI up to a whopping crazy 20,000 DPI, which you can adjust in the software. With the actual pre-programmed button on the bottom, there's 5 settings you can choose, which actually only goes up to a maximum of 6400, which for me is fine because I don't normally go over more than about 2000 anyway, but yeah, we'll take a look at that again later. All speed, no wires, so obviously yeah, it is wireless, they've said that already. One good thing is the battery life. Now, I get battery anxiety all the time, whether it's with a laptop, my mobile phone, anything that's wireless, it's always kind of like at the back of my mind, am I going to run out of battery? Now, this actually has kind of 80 plus hours of battery life from a single charge, which is absolutely awesome. And from my usage case scenario, just on Discord, going on YouTube, watching stuff, general computer usage, I would say you're probably going to lose 1% of battery for every hour you use it, which is amazing. So somewhere in the region of about 100 hours usage, which is really good. So even if you don't charge it, you're not going to get that battery anxiety. I've actually been using this for a good few days now, and I haven't charged it at all other than just to put it on the dock just to do some B-roll. And I don't think I even had plugged in. So this is basically charged from new. And I think it's only down to something like 89% or something. So I've used about 11% over 2 days, which yeah, is absolutely fine. Yeah, also you've got fast charge as well. So if for some reason it does get really low and you just need to use it, 10 minutes of charging will give you somewhere in the region of about 9 hours worth of use. So you get a day's worth of use from a couple of minutes on charge. So by the time you've boiled the kettle, had a cup of tea, had a coffee, gone for a quick pee, come back, your battery is ready and you're going to be able to use it all day, no problems at all. Anyway, that's enough to talk about toiletry. Let's take a look and see what we actually get in this thing. So it actually does come in nice packaging, like I said, and it's all well protected. Now this, actually I should say, has been purchased by me personally through Amazon.co.uk from the actual warehouse section. So this was a actually fantastic deal. This basically costs the same as the wired version. Now normally when you're actually buying this, you'll be paying somewhere in the region of about £60 for this setup, which I think is actually pretty decent value for money, especially if you look at the competition, things like the Razer Viper Ultimate, that sort of thing. Very similar specs, very similar mouse, and a little bit more expensive in some places. So this you're going to find between £60 and £70 on the UK market at the time of recording. I actually picked this up as an Amazon deal. I think it was like £35, and it's absolutely fine. Now I think I know why a lot of these get returned, which we'll talk about later on. So if you're interested to see why these might be getting returned and you could potentially pick up a bargain, definitely keep watching. Anyway, moving on. So packaging wise, nicely foam packaged, etc. All the usual suspects are there. So first of all, we get our little charging cradle, which is really nice. It's got a little rubberized section which actually sticks to the desk really nicely. So even if you try and tap it and move it, it doesn't want to move away. This actually cleverly also houses the remote sensor, or the remote dongle, or whatever you want to call it, the Wi-Fi receiver. Tiny little thing, so if you're using this on a laptop, then it's going to be really easy to put that in. You're not going to get your USB port damaged when you put it in and out, that sort of stuff. Two brass prongs there, so that's obviously for charging. When you put the mouse on, makes a connection, charges the mouse, very straightforward and simple. One thing which is a little bit of a deal breaker in some people's minds might be the fact that the connectivity here is micro USB rather than being Type-C, which would have been preferable, but Type-C would have had a little bit more bulk to it, so it would make it a little bit bigger, etc. Micro USB thing is absolutely fine there, and you do get included a cable, and also obviously if you use your cable, then it's very easy to pick up another one anywhere at all. I've actually got loads of them lying around, so if I want to put this somewhere else I can do, just trail out the cable. Anyway, so yeah, that's all good. Plug that in there, and there is actually a little thing on there saying only for MSI dongle, which is actually incorrect. You can put whatever you want on there, but obviously as long as it's not too high, because it will interfere with charging. Anyway, so that is the charging unit. Very cool indeed. And actually there is a very small MSI logo on the back, very discreetly done. I'm not sure why it's on the back, because you're probably never going to see it, but you guys can probably see it in that angle. Anyway, moving on. So paperwork wise, you probably get instruction details and warranty guide and all that kind of stuff. Obviously it didn't come in this one because it's a used one. You do get the friction cable, or low friction cable. This is MSI's kind of semi-patented design for their braiding. So it's braided and it has almost, I wouldn't say it's a waxy feel, but it just feels very smooth. So even though it is a fabric braid, there seems to be something actually added into it which makes it very smooth and kind of slides on surfaces very nicely, so you're not going to get that kind of drag effect from a cable if you want to use a cable. Most people are going to just use this obviously to connect up into the charging plate, but you can, if you want to, plug it straight into the front of the mouse and use it as a wired mouse should you need to, if maybe you're in somewhere that's got interference or your battery's flat, or just want to use it wired, which some people may want to do. Got gold plating on there as well. There's a little band on there for cable management, etc. So yeah, happy days. 2 meters in length for those of you that are wondering. And then finally we come on to the mouse itself, which is ridiculously light. It is ridiculously light. You kind of, when you're, yeah, it just feels very lightweight. Skates around really nicely. You've got PTFE feet on the bottom. And actually there's quite a decent range of them. So you've got 2 on the front, 1 around the sensor, and 3 on the back there. So yeah, they're really nice. Some people complained of those being scratchy. I haven't noticed that. This desk is awful. It's got marks everywhere, but still seems to slide around nicely. And on a mouse pad, no issues whatsoever. Didn't feel scratchy to me personally. Absolutely fine. So control wise, you've got on the bottom, you've got an on-off switch. Now that is something which also bugs me with some wireless mouse. Again, battery anxiety. I'm thinking I should be turning the battery off to save power so I don't come to a flat battery in the morning. Don't worry, MSI's got you completely covered. Even if you leave it on, it does have its own sleep function. So when you turn it on, like, because it knows it's not connected to anything, literally it's turned the RGB light off straight away and the sensor is completely dead, so it won't do anything at all. So you can leave it like that overnight as long as your cat's not going to be playing with it or anything, and literally it loses less than 1% charge overnight, which is awesome. I love that feature. How many times I've gone to bed and left the mouse on and come down the next day and it's like, hello, McFly. No, nothing at all. So that is a really cool feature for the power saving. Next button on the side is for changing your DPI. So there's 5 preset levels starting from, I think it's 400 DPI going up to 6400 DPI. You can change all those in the MSI software, configure them to whatever you want. I think I ended up having 800, 1200, 16, 18 and 19 or something along those lines. You'll see it later on in the segment I filmed a little bit earlier. So yeah, really cool. Charging prongs there, obviously they mate up with that. It would then technically be charging if it was connected on USB. And something which I noticed as well, there is actually a peel on the bottom of the charging dock. If you don't take it off, it actually, when you pull it off, because the magnet is quite strong on there, it actually pulls this up off the desk a little bit, but you can see there is like a very kind of tacky kind of rubber thing going on at the bottom there, like those anti-slip dashboard things. Anyway, moving on to other things. So on the front there is the USB charging port there, so micro USB goes in there. It doesn't have to be the one that comes in the kit, so if maybe you've left this somewhere at home and you just take the dongle out. This is actually quite a cool feature, so if you want to use it maybe in your laptop and you're going away somewhere, you can put this bit, there's a little storage area in the front where the micro USB normally goes, so you can store that in there so you don't have to worry about losing the dongle. I think that's actually very cool, and obviously when it's in use you can plug in the wired section as well, so if you do lose that you can still use it, that's no problem. The mouse itself, you've got 5 buttons on here. Technically it says 6 in the manual and what have you, but it's 5 plus 1 on the bottom. So you've got obviously your left and right mouse buttons. These are Omron 60 million plus switches in there. They've got a really nice tactile clicky sound to them. Those are really nice, I like those a lot. There's a really nice tension to them. I do find as well, the tension on them, again, compared with the Razer mouse, these seem to have a very much a closer distance. So with the Razer mouse, you find you're pressing and there's quite a lot of a travel before the actual click, whereas with this, it's almost instant, which I personally prefer. You may not prefer that. Let me know in the comments what you think. So the buttons are really nice, depending where you click them, they seem to sound the same pretty much all over, so that's fine for various size hands. I actually measured my hand because I've seen other videos where they measure their hands. So my hands are 18 by 9, that's centimeters. So for me, this fits absolutely perfectly. It's actually got a very kind of flat top to it, in my opinion. It hasn't got much of a hump towards the back, so it's not a big booty going on at the back there. So it's a relatively flat mouse, and I find even with kind of my generally a hybrid grip, so depending on what I'm doing, I might be kind of flat like that, I might be claw or whatever type of grip it is. I find it to be very comfortable either way, and because it's ambidextrous, left or right hander is going to be fine. I'm a left hander, as you probably obviously worked out, and it feels very comfortable for me. And even with the buttons on the side there, I still find it very easy to use my ring finger to actually use buttons 4 and 5 for kind of reload or forward back in browsers, that sort of thing. The mouse wheel's got a nice little notch to it, not overly notchy, so it does kind of spin a little, but not a great deal. Sounds good. Nice click to it as well in the middle. It is a little bit low, so it is quite a low profile wheel. Again, a mouse is very much a personal thing. I would say realistically, if you're not sure, order one from Amazon, try it, see what you think. If you don't like it, obviously you can send it back, etc. Or maybe go to a local store and try one out if you can. But I actually quite like the position of it. Works very well for me, and it's got a nice click and feel to it. On the side, you've got some nice rubberized sections on the side. So there is a kind of textured section there, which actually looks pretty striking as well. I like the look of that. And obviously you've got your forward and back buttons on this side. On the other side, you've got the same kind of grippy section on there. It isn't like a rubber as such, but it isn't a plastic. It's kind of somewhere weirdly in between. It does feel like it's got a little bit of give to it, like rubber, but I don't think it is rubber. But anyway, it's very nice, very comfortable in hand, very grippy. Even if you've got slightly sweaty hands, it works very well. The top section is quite grippy as well, even though it looks quite shiny and almost kind of metallic in nature. It's a very grippy surface. It's a kind of satiny gunmetal black, I guess you'd call it. But anyway, yeah, very nice and grippy. Obviously got the RGB on the bottom there, so if you click that you can put it on. You don't have to have the RGB on, and you can change it in MSI sensor and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it. Something else, NVIDIA Reflex Sync. So if you're using an NVIDIA graphics card, this actually does support NVIDIA Reflex Sync. So to kind of sync up your mouse and reaction times and all that kind of stuff with your graphics card, it is supported in there. Whether or not you'll use that or not, I don't know, but it's nice that the feature's there. But yeah, overall pretty decent mouse, but let's take a look at the software and you can see how you can configure it for your own particular needs. Okay, so let's take a look at the MSI Center options for controlling this mouse. So if we go down to the bottom here, and we'll go into MSI Center, and you can see already it's showing up as my device. You will need to go into features and make sure you've installed gaming gear. If you've plugged this mouse in for the first time, it'll give you a prompt to do that anyway, should you want to do it, or if you haven't got it installed already. You can use this with other software, so if you've got maybe an Asus board or a Gigabyte board and you've got their software, you can still run the MSI gaming gear as part of MSI Center with that system, and it works absolutely fine. I've done it with my Asus system and it's not a problem at all. But in here, so we've got our mouse and we've got our keyboard, so let's head over into mouse. And this is the main control panel. So top left hand corner, we've got our battery percentage, which is nice. Shame there isn't a little kind of widget or something which can go in the taskbar to show you the percentage, but I guess, yeah, it's not really a problem. So options, you've got profiles you can select, so 3 individual profiles, you can rename those as well. So gaming, work, editing, whatever you want to do. And this is the main panel for controlling your buttons. So we've got the 5 buttons on there, which are actually changeable. So button 1, left, right, middle button, back and side buttons, that sort of thing, and you can choose what actions you want. So say for instance the forward button on the side over here you want to change, so you can go over to action, you've got default, mouse buttons, multimedia, macro and DPI. So if you want to quickly change DPIs you can set it for that. If you choose multimedia you can choose things such as up, down, left, right, play, pause, all those kinds of usual stuff. So yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'll set it as default because that's fine for me. Other options in this particular section, so we've got our sensor options. Now this is something you may actually want to change. So levels for DPI, you can select your individual levels, and when you go into a level you can click on the cogwheel and change it anywhere between the minimum, which is 100 DPI. I normally set mine to 1900, that works well for me. Obviously you can go up to 20,000 should you wish to, if you're some kind of lunatic. I find that to be completely uncontrollable, but anyway, it is what it is. So you've got 5 different levels you can choose from, and you can cycle those from the button on the bottom of the mouse. You've got your polling rate. You also got your lift off distance. Now I find using it without a mouse pad, if I set it to high, the actual sensor tracks much better. So you may want to do that. That will give a little bit more power to the actual sensor, so that will make the battery go down a little bit quicker, but not hugely so. So if you're finding your mouse isn't tracking quite as well as you think it should do, then change your lift off distance between low to high, and that works well for me. You've also got options for angle snapping and also motion sync. Motion sync will deplete the battery quicker, so if you do have that enabled you'll get a warning saying when activating motion sync this will increase the power consumption. So yeah, I actually don't need that on, works fine just with the higher lift off distance. Battery level we've got here on a bar, so 88% left. Also LED auto sleep mode, so if you're not using the mouse, the LED will go to sleep. This is obviously a power saving feature. Also there is an option for low battery warning in the on-screen display, you can turn that on or off, and also then you can change the settings for the on-screen display capacity, or sorry, opacity rather, so 100% down to 0 or somewhere in between if you want to. And obviously you've also got the battery warnings. So you can choose there, if the battery is at 30%, get a 20-second warning on screen, battery at 20%, 25 seconds, and battery at 10%, 30 seconds. So it's getting longer and longer warnings, say, come on, your battery's low. Realistically, you're probably never going to see this because it does charge up extremely quickly, as discussed in the review. So that is pretty much it for the software and tweaks you can make in there. It's pretty good, and I'm guessing MSI will tweak or add things should they find it necessary. Okay, so there you go. That is how to control it in the MSI Center. Again, optional, you don't have to install it, and it works with or without other software. So if you've got Asus motherboard, Gigabyte motherboard, ASRock motherboard, it doesn't matter, you can still install this and use their gaming center or gaming gear center or whatever to control your peripherals, which is nice. It doesn't interfere with any other stuff on the system. So yeah, like it a lot. I personally, like I said, I love MSI stuff. It all works well, synchronizes well. It's just a very nice ecosystem in my particular opinion. Some people may not like it, I personally do. And I actually like the peripherals. My only concern is with a lot of MSI peripherals they are quite expensive for what they are, let's be honest. When this first came out, I think it's closer to £100. At that price, I think most people will be having to kind of have a little word with themselves. Do you really need it that much? Is it that comfortable? When it comes down to the £60 mark, I'm thinking, well, there's a lot of competition, but actually, yeah, it's got the right features. Does everything you need it to. It's got excellent battery life, which is very important, especially if you're a gamer and you don't want to have to worry about something else. It's there, ready and waiting, and works all the time. When it comes down to the used market, if you can pick one of these up for, like, from Amazon warehouse deal, like I did, for about £35, even £40, I was prepared to pay a little bit more than that. But yeah, I think for the price, very, very hard to beat. Does compete very well with the Razer Viper, so if you are looking at that and you're comparing the two, I would say there isn't a great deal between them. The Razer, I would say the actual buttons have got a slightly more flair to them, so if you're somebody who wants your finger to be kind of contoured into the buttons, you may prefer the Razer mouse in that regard. But whereas with this, although there is a visible ridge there, it doesn't feel like your fingers are kind of trapped into there, so you have got a little bit of freedom of movement on there, which I personally prefer. But again, like I said earlier, a mouse is a very much a kind of tactile thing, and it's your main part of contact with your PC other than your keyboard. So it pays to get it right. So I would say certainly try out the links from Amazon in the comment section below and also in the video description. They are affiliated links, so we do get a very small kickback, etc., all that usual stuff. But yeah, definitely worth a try. I will most likely be using this as my daily driver on my PC once I transfer my motherboard from Asus back to MSI again, and I've got my MSI ecosystem all going on. Otherwise, I'll be using it on the PC behind me, and whilst I'm doing my live streams, I can then grab my mouse from there and put it over here and still control my live stream stuff. So wireless freedom and long battery life. What more could you want? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I think that's going to wrap this one up. So this has been MSI's Clutch GM41 Lightweight Gaming Mouse. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.